Hello, Keller Williams Realty Leading Edge. This is Dave Nielsen, one of your productivity coaches here today. I am going to spend a couple minutes talking about how to run comps or produce a CMA, as you might have also called it, a comparative market analysis. So if I'm being honest, this realistically takes, like if you're going to do it, like if we really want to dive into the principles behind it, and really become masters of it, I mean, it can take several hours. We're going to do this in a couple of minutes. So I'm going to give you the baseline that you need to understand. And also, I'm going to acknowledge that there are many different ways that this is done within the community. I was taught how to do this by somebody who was coming from an appraiser's background. I have taught with people who have taught this using percentages of assessed value and price per square foot. Those two things are not information that I personally use when I'm running comps. I'm not saying that they can't be used, because the person who did teach that way, we actually did usually wind up with pretty similar numbers anyway. Long story short, guys, it's just there's more than one ways to do this. So I'm going to show you mine, and it works for me. I would encourage you to explore other ways as well, so you have a true mastery of this, because this is probably the most complicated and difficult thing that we do in this business. So we're going to approach this really from the seller's perspective. So you have a listing appointment. You want to have some idea of what this property is worth before you walk in the door, because that seller is going to ask you, what do you think my property is worth? We're going to use a property in North Smithfield as the subject property, specifically my house. We're going to look up my house and do comps on my own property. So the thing you need first is to be on you need the tax card for the property. So I'm gonna go to North Smithfield, enter the database. I guess I'm giving you guys all my address if you want to see where I live. I live at 11 Golden Boulevard in North Smithfield. Maybe by the time you're watching this, I have bought my dream house, but for now, I love this house. It's a fantastic house where I'm raising my kids with my lovely wife, and it is awesome. And there is my house. So the relevant data on this property, right? We're doing a CMA. The C stands for comparative. I need houses to compare this to. I'm getting ready to sell this house in our example. So I want to know how many bedrooms it has. I want to know its square footage. I'm going to want to know its condition. I'm not going to be able to get its condition from here, but I can get size and number of bedrooms and stuff like that from this card here. Again, I ignore the fact that this is the tax assessed value. I don't find it terribly useful. But again, there's more than one way to do this. But so just looking at the real data, I've got a 4-bedroom house. Yep, that's right. And I have it's about 1,600 square feet of living space, above grade, and about 600 below grade. My basement is almost entirely finished, and I do live on a hill, so some of the square footage is above grade and some of it's not. As you get to the bottom of the hill, my house is kind of exposed against it. So like this part of the house, like the left, as you're looking at it, is going to have some below grade finished area that I can count, and some that I can't. So anyway, we're going to look at houses that are between 1,600 square feet and call it 2,400 square feet. It's a pretty big range. So anyway, and I'm going to be looking at 4-bedroom houses. So now that I have this information, I need to plug it into the MLS. Hopefully you see me switching tabs here. Open the MLS. I'm recording this for the second time because I did this on a tool that did not switch tabs. That was annoying, but here we are. So it's a single family. So I'm only going to look at single family. So single family. Let me get these quick. Here is where I'm plugging in the data by which I'm going to search. I do not put a lot of data in here. Reason being, what I care most about is getting data out of this. The more I put in here, the more criteria I put in here, the less data it's going to give me back, because the data that I input is just filtering things out. So I'm going to be pretty broad in my criteria. So I'm going to show you what I do here. Of these boxes, I check 4: active and active under contract, which are already checked. Pending, I want to know about pendings because this is a property that's been put on the market and somebody has agreed to buy it for a certain price that was, amenable to a seller. And sold is that happened and the property closed. These are the 4 criteria that I really look at. I'm also doing so, I'm going to point out here, that this 0 to 180, you probably noticed these numbers pop up, the 0 to 180, those are days. So these are properties that have gone pending in the last 6 months or properties that have closed in the last 6 months. Now, the further you go back, a lot of those pendings turn to sold. So you won't have as many pendings that sold. Just be aware of that. That's normal. I'm also only going to look in North Smithfield. It doesn't make a lot of sense to compare North Smithfield to Warwick, to Westerly, to Woonsocket, to Providence, to Cranston. It doesn't make sense. So only in the very, very rarest of occasions do we go outside of town. I've been doing this for over a decade. I don't think I've had to go outside of a town once. So we're only going to look at North Smithfield. I'm going to look first at 4 bedrooms, and I'm going to look at properties that have a size range that encapsulate mine. Now, remember, mine was about 1,600 square feet above and then some below. So I'm going to use a pretty big range. It's a fairly big house. It's not a mansion, but it's not like a 1,100 square foot either. So I want to look at total living space. So total living space will be down here. Approximate total living area. This number for me was like 2,200 because I'm adding the square footage and I'm adding, for above and below. Please note here, we're not going to do this right now, but please note here that these are fields that I have added manually. So for you, you probably don't have this. You have to click this add remove button and then find approximate total living area and then add it. But for me, being 2,200, I'm going to look at anything that's from like 1,600 to like 3,000. Now, my house should probably not sell as much for, as a 300. Say it again, David. My house should probably not sell for as much as a 3,000 square foot house that's in the same area and same condition. Okay. I have to acknowledge that. Same thing, it should sell for more than a 1,600 square foot house in the same location and same condition. So understand that. So I've put all of this criteria in. That's it. That's all I'm putting in. For now, I might expand if I have to, but this is what I'm putting in. You will note here that this says I've gotten 15 matches. Let's see what they are. Click on results. These are my 15. Okay, I got a decent spread here. So these are my 15 properties. Let's go on the map. North Smithfield is a sparsely populated town for the most part, so I don't expect to see as many sales here as Woonsocket or Cranston or Warwick or Providence or the more urban areas of the state. North Smithfield is pretty rural. So this makes sense that these are spread out and there's not as many sales. Let's look primarily at my neighborhood. So I clicked on map, and then this little thing is where I can type the address, type in the full address, and it zooms in on my house. That is my house. I live at the end of a dead-end street. It's awesome. 10 out of 10 would recommend. So I zoom out. I only find one other property that's sold like close to me. Now, this is not really the same neighborhood. Just I know my town, that's not the same neighborhood. But let's look at it anyway, because this would be amazing. This property sold for $665,000. Oh, mine's worth that. Okay. 4 bedrooms, 2,400 square feet. It's a pretty good bit bigger than mine. Hanton Road. I don't know where Hanton is off the top of my head, but I mean, this is a colonial set in the woods. It certainly looks bigger than my house. Let's go through a look at condition. Now, you guys don't know the condition of my house. We have redone our bathroom. We have redone our kitchen, but on a scale of 1 to 10, my house condition-wise is probably about a 6. This is really nice. Hardwood floors, decent looking cabinets. Looks like it's been updated and cared for. I like that island. I don't know how you sit it there. So I'm just looking at condition. Right now, what I care about is location and condition. I know the location's good. The condition is great. This is open. My house is not open. My house is a ranch, and what was that? Like a covered deck gazebo-y kind of thing. Really open master bedroom, it looks like, with a balcony. Oh, wow. I don't have that. This house is not a comp to my house. So what I'm trying to do now, what I was doing, a lot of it was happening in my head, but what I'm trying to do is find properties that are similar to mine. This house is not similar to mine. So I really can't use it as a comp, even though the data that I input kicked it back to me. So it makes sense within the numbers, but you have to use some kind of deductive reasoning here to determine whether or not it makes sense to use or not. This one, it does not. I know my house really well, and my house is not compared to this house. So I'm going to close that one. Let's see if I can find another one. I also know what my house is worth. So that helps me determine the number. Let's go here. This is a little south of where I am, so it's a different neighborhood. But this is 435,000. Well, $435,000 this thing sold for. 4 bedrooms, 1248. So a little smaller above grade, a little bit bigger below grade. It's overall the total square footage is pretty close to mine. This is 2,080 square feet, and mine was like 22. So it's a little bit smaller than me, but not a ton. A negligible difference, I would say. So this is on Providence Pike, which is a main road in town. I live in a dead end street covered by trees, as I said. So I think location wise, you could say that mine probably has a slight advantage over this. So all things being equal right now, size and location, I think I have a slight advantage. If this house sold for 435, then mine should probably, it would stand to reason, be a little bit more. Remember, this is equal parts art and science. This is kind of the art way. I'm like interpreting the science in an artistic way. So if this was the exact same house as mine, condition wise, this is probably a pretty good number for me. So let's click on the pictures and see. So going through. Oh, it's a little bigger. Looks a little bigger here. Somebody just walked by. There's a porch. I don't have a porch. Porch is nice. I did just redo my kitchen, so I like my kitchen better. But, objectively speaking, these are probably pretty similar. I mean, it is kind of updated, at least with stainless steel appliances. I mean, I'm a cabinet guy, so it's hard to tell if these cabinets are any better than mine. They're probably pretty similar. I can't tell what material that countertop is. It could be granite, it could be solid surface, or it couldn't be like a quartz. I'm not quite sure. While this looks different from my kitchen, it's probably value-wise, probably pretty comparable. It's easy for me to say because I've seen my house. It's going through. I mean, it looks like they take care of it. I love that lime green accent wall. I like interesting colors. Yeah, going through, I mean, it looks, I like this too. I like fun colors. I get distracted, sorry. Going through, I mean, it looks like it's actually not that dissimilar from my property. I think there are places where I could say this property could be touched up a little more nicely. I don't know what's going on over here. But I would say the same thing about my house. It's nice. This is a nice house. The yard here is better. So there are some advantages that this home has to me, and some advantages that my home has to this. These are pretty close. I think these are genuinely pretty close. So I'm finding that this is a comp. So I think $435,000 is a number that makes sense for my house. Let's keep looking. And guys, remember when I said that when we do this, this could take a couple hours to do properly. And we're not going to spend hours doing that in a video. Let's see. Oh, that was that one. Let's go a little more. Let's go a little more west. 6 Pine Hill. This one actually happened to be my listing, so I know this house very, very well too. So this sold for $425,000. I got 5,000 above when everybody else is getting below asking. So good job by me. 4 bedrooms, 1,716. Yeah, 1,716 per square feet. The basement here is completely unfinished, and again, it's my listing, so I know it. Completely unfinished. It was just a blank canvas. Okay, it's a wide-looking ranch, just like mine. This has a garage, which mine doesn't have. Actually, fun fact about my house, one of the bedrooms that I have, it used to be a garage. They turned it into a bedroom. This is a 2-way fireplace. So I don't know, you can't tell in the pictures, but you can see through this fireplace to the other side of the living room, which is really cool. Again, I just happen to, you won't always know this when you're looking at comps. I just happen to know because it's my listing. These are hardwood floors throughout the entire thing. It's about the same size as mine, except for the finished basement. So that's an advantage that my house has over this one. I'm looking for the kitchen because my kitchen is significantly nicer than this one. So this kitchen was a little dated. Like these cabinets are a little older. I think they were original to the house when it was built. The tile is a little dated. This was a laminate counter. So you could add a lot of value to this house by redoing this kitchen. This one's not redone, so value not there yet. So just comparing this house, everything about it, including the neighborhood actually too. This is it's not quite a dead end street, but it is a very narrow, very isolated street in the woods, which is very similar to mine. So a lot of stuff, location, while different parts of the town, the locations are comparable. The size and style of the home, certainly comparable. The condition, I mean, what did I say? A 6 out of 10. This is probably a 5 out of 10, right? However you scale that, they're pretty similar with a slight advantage to mine. So with mine having a slight advantage of condition and a slight advantage of size, mine should have a slight advantage in price as well. So the last property we looked at was 435. This one's 425. It would stand to reason that mine should have a range somewhere between 435 and like 450, 460. Now, if we had more time, I would put a little more effort into finding what the top of that range is. Again, for the sake of keeping the video as brief as possible, I'm not going to go too deep, but let's just say that there's another 460,000 square foot. That's a big house. A $460,000 house that is very, very similar to mine. I would say, hey, my range should be this on the low end and that 460 on the top end. So I should wind up somewhere in there. Okay. So we've established our range, which is what we're really trying to do in this part of the process. Now let's get rid of this page here, because it's not just about looking what has sold. Now the solds are the most important part. Absolutely. The sold is the most important part, is finding a value. I always say anybody can put a property on the market for $1 million. It doesn't mean it's worth $1 million. I put my house on the market for $1 million. Doesn't mean it's worth $1 million. Okay. It's not worth what it's worth until it's sold and closed. That said, I do want to have some semblance of an idea of what people who have this budget, which we're going to say is about 450. I want to see what people who have this budget in this town looking for this kind of property, and they also have $450,000. What do they spend? What can they spend it on? What else is there? So I'm going to go back to results and I'm going to look at my actives. There are only 2 that fit. And of course, one is 950,000 and the other is 400. So neither of them fall within my range. I might need to amend my data points, but let's just see. Let's cross our fingers and hope for your boy, Dave Nielsen, that this property is very similar to mine. Built in 2022, colonial 2-car garage, new updated. That is the exact color I just painted my kitchen. Go figure. Yeah, maybe my house is worth almost $1 million. Who knows? But no, this house is objectively nicer than my house. So unfortunately for me, that does not work. 53 School Street, North Smithfield. It is roughly the same size, but no finished basement, 4 bedrooms, looks like the condition. This house needs updating compared to mine, no question. So what I have found is that I don't have any actives that show me what the buyers in this town are spending. That actually means that I can be a little more aggressive in my price. So if I said my range is 425 to 460, the fact that there's nothing else available means I can be a little more aggressive. Now, if there were 10 properties that all fit that, I would probably want to be on the lower end of that, just because, you know, if I have 10 things that are identical, why do I want to buy the most expensive of those 10 things? If I could buy a Toyota Camry today and they all cost between $20,000 and $30,000 and they were basically the same thing, I'm going to buy the cheaper one. People who are buying houses think the same way, and they should. That makes sense. But I do want to get a little better idea of this. So I'm going to open my criteria just a little bit. I think where I can probably benefit the most is looking at 3 bedrooms. There are more 3 bedrooms than there are 4 bedrooms. So we're going to look at properties that are 3 to 4. I don't like to open my criteria like this unless I have to. In this situation, I feel like I have to. So I'm going to go back and look at, I'm going to go back and look at the actives. Still not a ton of actives, and even fewer that are within range. I'm going to turn off pretty much all of my criteria, and I'm going to see. So now all I'm looking at right now is status and town. There are 12 properties available in North Smithfield of any size, condition, and price. I gave a range of 425 to 460. So let's look at these 2 that I'm hovering right here. I've got one that was 429, and I've got one that was 525 or so. Let's look at 525. This is probably going to be objectively nicer than my house. I know this house well. I drive by it every day. So 4 bedrooms, significantly larger, 3,200 square feet. It's on a main road. It's actually pretty close to Wright's Farm, but 3,200 square feet. It's almost double the size of mine. Let's see the condition. I do love those tiles. The Spanish tile on the roof. I like wrought iron gates all through the house. It's kind of a niche property. It's a cool property, but it's bigger than mine, so it should sell for more. But I don't think it's a great comp. Look at the next one. So this is an active. So 424.9. So let's call it 425. 4 bedrooms. It has more space just above grade with almost 2,800 than I have in my whole house, and 1,000 below grade living area for a total value of 3831. That seems massive. So one thing I say a lot here is that the information in the MLS listing is only as accurate as the agent who uploaded it. I don't want to call out this agent. I have no idea who this agent is, if they're in our office, if they're not. This is just something I don't know about the property, but it's weird to me that you've got 1,000 square feet of living area below grade, yet 0% of the basement is finished. It could be that there's actually no square footage here. So that could be like an input error. I don't know. So let's look at this. So this house, this is a Cape. It doesn't actually look as big as my house from the outside. Oh, okay. It's got a garage. I don't have a garage. This little area over here they must be getting credit for. My house has a more updated kitchen by far. I literally just 2 weeks ago updated my kitchen. But it's big. All right, yeah, it's big. I don't know if it's 3,800 square feet, but it's big. Bathroom, not quite updated, not terrible. I just want to keep scrolling, see if I can find anything that's below grade. Yeah, this is the basement. Oh no, this is maybe the garage. I don't know what this is. Unfinished space here. This is the basement. It looks so. Again, I don't know, but it looks like that this. It looks like the living area here, the living area calculation in this listing, is probably not 100% accurate, because I don't think that there's 3,800 square feet of living area in this house. I could be wrong. All I did was look at pictures. But either way, let's just say that these houses are pretty similar. Maybe this one's a little bit bigger, but my house is in nice condition. And it's at 425. So again, it would stand to reason that my house would sell for a little bit more, and it would fall within my range. There's not a lot active within that range where buyers who are looking in this price point in this town can spend. So it stands to reason that I can be at the high end of my range just due to competition. So what's the market value of my house? Somewhere between $425,000 and $460,000. Good news for me. I didn't think it was worth that much. So anyway, that is how I run CMAs. I'm going to say again that CMAs, there's more than one way to do it. This is how I do it. This has always worked for me. I would absolutely encourage you to ask other agents how they do it and find a strategy that works for you and allows you to get accurate numbers for your clients. And I got to find the stop recording button. There it is. Thank you very much. Have a great one.